Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Just an FYI, I heard that Vice Chair Watchman is going to be about 10 minutes late. So we can start the meeting and take a recess, or actually, I don't I don't know if council wants to weigh in, if we should just, if we need to actually start the meeting and take roll and officially go in recess, or can we just immediately, take a 10-minute pause?
I don't think council's on the call yet.
Okay.
I'll send them an email.
Okay.
And it's
Or maybe by the time everybody comes on, it'll just be ready to start. Actually, we could ask Mr. Johnson if he can hear.
I can. We're trying to get the regular one up, but Roy and Daniel are with me. Val, Eric will not be here.
Okay, we Vice Chair Watchman is going to be 10 minutes late. And so for us to maybe have a 10-minute recess, until he can join us, given the sensitivities of the votes and the issues, can we just take a recess, or do we need to actually officially start the meeting and take roll first?
You have to start the meeting, take roll, and then immediately go into recess because we're waiting for Commissioner Watchman.
Okay, I do see that we have a quorum, so if it's okay, I'm going to get started.
That's good.
Okay, everyone, first, I would just like to apologize for the abrupt interruption on Tuesday. I had a medical incident beyond my control, and I look forward to getting our work done today. Agenda item 1, call to order and roll call. 1A, call for quorum. It is 9:02 a.m. on Tuesday, January 21st, 2022. I call this meeting of the Independent Redistricting Commission to order. For the record, the Executive Assistant, Valerie Newman, will be taking roll. When your name is called, please indicate you are present. If you are unable to respond verbally, we ask that you please type your name. Val.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Lerner.
Present.
Commissioner Meal.
Present.
Commissioner York.
Present.
Thank you. Chairperson Newberg.
Present.
And for the record, also in attendance is Executive Director Brian Schmidt, Deputy Director Lori Van Heeren, Public Information Officer Michelle Crank. From our legal team, we've got Brett Johnson from Snell and Welmer, Roy Herrera and Daniel Ariano from Herrera Ariano. And our mapping consultants, we've got Mark Flahan and Randy Trott, Brian Kingery, all from Timmins, and Doug Johnson and Ivy Beller-Sikansky from NDC Research, and Angela Miller, our transcriptionist. That's everyone, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Please note for the minutes that a quorum is present. Agenda item 1B, call for notice. Val, was the notice and agenda for the commission meeting properly posted 48 hours in advance of today's meeting?
Yes, it was, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. With that, it is 9:04. Let's take a 10-minute recess and hope that Vice Chair Watchman will be on by then. Thank you. We weren't planning on this, so thank you for your flexibility. Please note for the minutes, Val, that Vice Chair Watchman joined us at 9:15. We will return to our agenda. We are on agenda item 2, approval of minutes from January 18th. We have A, the general session. We have B, the executive session for a legal review of our final maps. Is there any discussion on the minutes from January 18th? If there's no discussion, I'll entertain a motion to approve the general session and executive session minutes from January 18th.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from January 18th.
Do I have a
Vice Chair
second?
Watchman seconds.
If no further discussion, Vice Chair Watchman,
Aye.
Commissioner Meal,
Aye.
Commissioner Lerner,
Aye.
Commissioner York.
Aye.
Chairwoman Newberg is an aye, and with that, the minutes are approved. We'll move to agenda item number 3, opportunity for public comments. Public comment will now open for a minimum of 30 minutes and remain open until the adjournment of the meeting. Comments will only be accepted electronically in writing on the link provided in the notice and agenda for this public meeting and will be limited to 3,000 characters. Please note, members of the commission may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to ARS 38-431.01H, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to any criticism, or scheduling the matter for further consideration and decision at a later date. With that, we move to agenda item number 4, discussion on public comments received prior to today's meeting. Does anybody have anything to add? Nor do I. So with that, we will move to agenda item number 5, discussion and final map vote and certification transmittal to the Arizona Secretary of State. Given the interruption on Tuesday, we will, on 5A, open it up if there's any additional congressional map discussion, and if not, we'll take a vote to reaffirm the final congressional map. Any discussion? If there's no discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, point of order. Didn't we already vote for then item 8A? So
Yes. Yes, we did,
So-
Vice Chair Watchman, but just out of an abundance of caution, just given that, you know, I wasn't feeling that well, just out of, you know, again, just caution, we would like to reaffirm the final vote.
is that from, I'm
Procedural.
sorry, Madam Chair. Is that from legal counsel? Because
It
we
is.
already voted, so we already spent too much time on it, and so the vote's the vote.
The Commissioner Watchman, this is Brett. The vote is the vote, and nobody needs to actually speak again unless they have something additional. You can refer back to your previous comments and then vote appropriately or as you deem fit. We do recommend just making sure that the record is clear on any votes.
Well, then, if I could, Madam Chair, just another point of order. We already took the final vote for congressional, so the agenda's wrong. It should be reaffirm the vote for item A.
That's what it is. It's
No, it's not.
congressional.
It's-
Excuse
it's-
me?
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, it says final map vote. We already took the final map vote on the congressional maps, and so the agenda is not written.
It does say, Vice Chair Watchman, it does say congressional map discussion and reaffirmation.
Okay, all right.
Yes, this is just, again, we're on 5A, and it is just a reaffirmation of our vote. And if is there any discussion? And if not, I'll entertain a motion to reaffirm. Legal counsel, can I take a vote on the map, or do we actually need a motion to reaffirm it?
Just a motion to reaffirm the vote from January 18th in regard to the
Okay.
congressional maps.
I will entertain a motion to reaffirm the vote on our final congressional map.
So moved.
Do I have a
Commissioner
second?
York.
Commissioner Meal seconds.
If no further discussion, Vice Chair Watchman,
I vote no.
Commissioner Meal,
I reaffirm all the comments I made at our last meeting and I vote yes.
Commissioner Lerner,
I will follow Commissioner Meal's way of saying it. I reaffirm my comments and I vote no.
Commissioner York,
I vote yes.
and Chairperson Newberg. I also reaffirm my comments and vote yes. And so with that, the final congressional map is reaffirmed and approved with a 3-2 vote. Agenda item number 5B, legislative map discussion and approval. Is there any, before we take a vote on the final legislative map, is there any discussion that anybody would like to add to our conversation from Tuesday?
Chairwoman, I don't have any specific on the legislative, but I would like to respond to some comments from Tuesday, if that would be okay.
Of course.
All right.
You're welcome to respond at whatever point in these items as you'd like.
Well, I just wanted to be sure it was the appropriate time.
Yeah, Commissioner Lerner, you could do it now, just so process-wise, you can do it now because it's called for discussion, or you can explain your vote at the time you vote. However, whichever way you prefer.
Oh, whatever's easiest. Doesn't matter to me.
Your discretion.
I'll wait till my vote then. Maybe that'll be faster.
Okay, so if there's no further discussion at this point, I will entertain a motion to approve the legislative maps as our final draft.
This is Commissioner Meal. I make a motion that we approve our legislative maps as our final map.
Do I have a second?
Commissioner York seconds.
Discussion. We'll take a vote and people could add their comments at that point. Commissioner Meal,
I reaffirm the comments I made at our January 18th meeting and I vote yes.
thank you. Commissioner Lerner.
Chairwoman, I have a few comments to make on this at this time. So I just want to say that I was really taken aback on the personal attacks that I received on Tuesday. We have disagreements. We have differences of opinion on how we see the maps, but it was and my comments have really tried to focus most on the constitutional issues. But I feel that there were personal attacks on my integrity. We're colleagues, and I feel we should be respectful to each other. But in the time on this commission, I feel we had been, but the personal attacks accusing me of things that I will review a few of those today, I feel was inappropriate. Differences of opinion are just that. We have differences we may see the world differently, but I don't feel that's a reason for some of these accusations and what I see as inappropriate language. This process is not personal. It was to develop the best maps for the state, and my comments on the districts and maps were focused on my view of their constitutionality and why I felt they could be improved. I did not attack either Commissioner Meal or Chairwoman Newberg for the difference of opinions or your views. The fact that you made so many, I feel, warranted accusations to justify the maps from your perspectives, I feel is wrong. Commissioner Meal, I've already responded to many of the comments that you made on the congressional. Many of them overlap with the comments on the legislative. There were a number of things that you said that I feel were incorrect in your comments. For the sake of time, I'm not going to go through all of them at this point. I just want to make the point that there were a number of things that you commented on that were not true in terms of things that I said or did, and things that you said or did, that the way that you presented it. The one that I will mention, because it was part of our last deliberation on the legislative maps, was District 2. During the District 2 discussion, I did everything I could to try to find a compromise. I asked for 4 alternatives. I spoke to my Republican colleagues about options during breaks. I tried to do everything I could from the perspective of communities of interest. And instead, I kept getting an absolute no from my Republican colleagues, with threats to change District 13, knowing that that was a district that had been adjusted and that the chairwoman liked. So instead of actually having a negotiation, having a discussion, there was a threat to blow up the maps, all over one district that had been changed 2 days prior, significantly. That's an example from my perspective of how I reached out, tried to compromise, tried to find some balance, and instead was rebuffed on every front. And so when the discussion about me trying to do things unilaterally or not making adjustments, not compromising, is completely incorrect just based on our last day of meetings, as an example. But that happened time and again, where I tried to find compromise, and it would not lead, those compromises that I tried to find time and again were not to lead to ultimate Democratic districts. They, just as with District 2, it would have remained a Republican district, but I was looking at it from a community of interest perspective. Chairwoman Newberg, I was really surprised that you went back to the beginning of our time together a year ago on the votes that we had for executive director, the mapping team, attorneys, all of which were early in the process to try to discredit me. I don't disagree that I voted no on a lot of those things. The record speaks for itself. But if you follow the record, you would see that since that time, I have praised all of those individuals and companies as we moved forward. And those things can happen. You can change your perspective as things go forward. I regularly let the mapping team know I trusted them. And I often asked them to see what they could do with a request I had, because I didn't have ideas. If I didn't trust them, I wouldn't have done that. You can ask Doug Johnson and Mark Flahan. I thanked each of them for their integrity and the work they did. I have repeatedly, publicly and privately thanked our entire staff. There was never a question that I was concerned about competitive districts. That has been something I've said from the beginning. I expressed an interest in having as many competitive as possible, and to imply that I was inconsistent is incorrect. I've always wanted the most competitive districts possible. The issues I raised in my comments on both legislative and congressional districts were consistent with comments I'd made throughout the process. You probably can tell that there were some districts I never discussed. When you talked about locking in districts, there were a number of them that I never felt I had comments on. But there were others that I mentioned and I repeatedly went back to, because I felt that we had not yet addressed all of the constitutional criteria. I did not say we had a 50-50 state in terms of partisanship. I consistently said we were 30-30-30 state, which is why I believed we needed to have a balance in our representation. And I know there are more Republicans registered than Democrats. I know it's not exactly 30-30-30, but it's approximate in that way. And yes, I did say, as you noted, Chairwoman, that I wanted a 15-15 legislature. I don't deny that comment, but I said that it was counter to, and it may have been the wrong thing to say at the time. I don't disagree with that. Commissioner Meal and I had had a previous discussion where he had been telling me he wanted 17-13 or 18-12, and that was part of why the 15-15 was on my mind. So just to give that context. And despite what you said, I do not believe it is a weakness to be aware of the past. Of course, it's my background and it's my degree, my academic degree. It is useful to understand the past so we understand what worked and what did not work. The decision to throw out anything that was done before rather than consider if it's not broken, don't fix it was limiting. And of course we have to look forward. Of course we start with a clean slate and a blank slate, but you can't do that without understanding where we've been. Now to one of the bigger comments that you made that I really object to. I've never been directed by anyone, as both you and Commissioner Meal accused me. And in fact, I want to be honest here. You said I was being directed by Democrats and there was a sixth person in the room. Let's add the seventh and eighth person. If you're being completely upfront, and if Commissioner Meal is being completely upfront, You would admit that the Republicans were also on their phones during our meetings constantly with the Arizona and national Republicans, as well as making calls at every break. The eighth person is our executive director, who you were meeting with and receiving messages from during meetings. So let's be honest, all of us be honest. We all had people talking to us. It's our decision on who we listen to and who we don't. But don't accuse me of something that you and the Republicans were also doing. What's most striking is that you didn't acknowledge how many times I compromised and worked to find agreement. There were numerous times I didn't like what we were doing, but for the sake of moving forward, which I often would state, I would vote yes. If I disagree, I'm allowed to vote no. A no vote is not against you, Chair Newberg. That's not what that's implying. A no vote is not personal. It's just about our own views. In addition, during breaks, I would often speak with my Republican colleagues to see if we could find a compromise. Time and again, I went over to them looking for things that we could do together. And I think you even commented on how pleased you were to see us working together, that we were speaking together and working together. That's not the sign of somebody who's not trying to find compromise. That's the sign of somebody who's reaching out, which is what I did over and over again. So I will comment on the fact that you only thank the Republicans for their integrity and support, which I find ironic because many of the reasons I can't support the map has to do with things that were done that were so clearly for partisan gain that they violated my sense of fairness. Moving lines for sitting legislators, drawing lines to increase vote spreads, selectively ignoring communities of interest that didn't fit the lines that were wanted, and more. And that happened time and again. That's not what I believe in. I have the same interest as you, Chairwoman. I want to get rid of the toxicity of political mistrust and tribalism and do what's right for our state and country. The personal attacks on me violates what you said you wanted. And please remember, I defended you, your interest in doing the right thing for the state, your integrity when others would not, and when you were being attacked. In contrast, you chose to attack me personally as we include our time together. We all come to the table with our own worldviews and what we think is best. You said that you did things that made sense to you. Well, so did I. And I shouldn't be condemned for having that different perspective. Time after time, I wanted you to express your views so we would better understand the direction you wanted. Most of the time you said, I want to hear from everybody else first before I express mine. So to me, it's disingenuous now that you're upset if I disagreed with something when it wasn't always clear what you wanted. There are many other things you said that were absolutely untrue, but I'm not going to go through them. Suffice to say, I'm just disappointed that this became personal, responsiveness to our requests. And finally, I thank all of our commissioners, all of my colleagues, in particular, my Democratic colleague, Vice Chair Watchman, but I do thank all of you for the incredible time commitment and dedication to the process. We all came into this wanting to do the best for the state. We came in with different perspectives, different worldviews, different ways of accomplishing it. But it doesn't mean that we came into this without the same goals of trying to do the right thing. And for that, I thank you. I thank each of you. That concludes my comments, Madam Chair. And with that, then I vote no on the maps. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Commissioner York.
Commissioner York, you're on mute.
We
Yeah.
still can't hear you.
I unmuted.
Now we can hear you.
All right. I vote aye.
And would you like any further discussion? Okay, and I believe Vice Chair Watchman, we started with you, correct? Just making
Yeah.
sure that I made
I haven't
my
voted yet, but I just want to, if I could, Madam Chair and colleagues, just echo what my colleague Shireen Lerner has indicated. I am troubled. However, this is a process, and I appreciate working with everybody. And I appreciate also the attention to our brothers and sisters who live on reservations here in the state. And so, I was appointed as an individual to represent the indigenous communities of the state, because I went back to look at my appointment letter. And so, being a member of the Navajo Nation myself, I hold that in high regard. And so that was my primary mission, to make sure that there was a voice on the commission for the 22 tribes here in the state. And so I'm appreciative to you, Madam Chair, and my colleagues for recognizing that. Obviously many of us and many peoples of color have had trials and tribulations, but here in this state, Indian country, Native Americans have had long battles and long hauls, and it was only recent that I as an individual, I as a member of a tribe, were able to vote. 1964 as an example. Even though the Navajo Reservation was created in 1868, the state of Arizona was created in 1912. Native Americans in this state were not allowed to vote until only a few years ago. And so, that's troubling in and of itself. But, I hold this position in high regard. Anytime you serve the public, you have to, be honest and forthright and do the right thing. I do believe in fairness. As I said before, my role and one of my goals was to ensure that we had a fair and balanced, if you will, set of lines that represents, the parties, the communities of interest, and all the things that are spoken to in the Constitution. And so, but it is a process, and sometimes, things get personal, which I don't think is the right thing to do. But, I again appreciate the staff. And yes, we did vote like we did, but that was at the time, and that's our right to vote the way we feel. And so, but I'll conclude my short, brief statement here that it's been a pleasure working with everybody on this call, our lawyers, our consultants, and the staff, and then representing each and every citizen of the state, the 7 million plus. It's been an honor, as a member of Northern Arizona, as a member of the Navajo Nation, and as someone that has worked very, very hard in my career to ensure, that the political process recognizes and includes Indian country. That's been my lifelong work, to make sure that Native American people, even though we're only a small percent of the community, and for the most part, even though we have reservations, and I think it's a good thing for Indian reservations, and some think to the contrary, but that's been my lifelong work. And so with that, my vote is still a no, for principal reasons. But I do appreciate the recognition and positive consideration for the tribes. So thank you, Madam Chair. In Navajo, thank you.
You're welcome. Well, I too am greatly appreciative of all of the contributions and hard work and diligence and study over the past year. And I am sorry if my words hurt anybody. I did try to avoid ad hominem attacks and really focus on facts and behavior that I felt were relevant to doing what I feel is my responsibility, which is to vigorously defend the legitimacy and constitutionality of our process on our maps. So I felt that, my comments were all given with that intention in mind. I am aware, Commissioner Lerner, that your alternatives were rebuffed on the legislative map. Quite honestly, I felt that I needed to value and put the integrity of the maps first above simply compromise. And there wasn't an alternative that I felt better captured our state. So I felt that it was more important for me to honor what I feel is right for Arizona than, you know, make compromises that maybe would make me feel good or look good or whatever. And it was a very, very tough decision. And I wish I could have satisfied more people in our state. And so with that, I vote yes. And so the legislative maps are approved with a 3-2 vote. We will move to agenda item number.
Madam Chair, could I just say one thing? I appreciate that, your comment about that. My only concern was that you weren't recognizing the attempt to compromise. So I certainly respect your decision. I don't question your decisions, but your comments seemed to indicate that was not part of the practice that was working. So that was my focus. I have no problem with you making decisions that you think are that you feel are the best decisions.
You know what? I do not recall ever saying anything about a lack of compromise. I'll go back and read my remarks. But yes, I think you've tried hard to find different solutions along the way.
Well, we all did, I believe, tried to find compromise in a lot of areas. I think the Princeton project that we had talked to us for an hour and a half, they give us a pretty high mark. We didn't get an A, I believe, but I think we got a B on their rating of how we did. And I don't think we give any rating to any other state. So I think we did a pretty good job. So with that.
I agree that there was a lot of efforts to compromise. My concern was only in the comments. So thank you. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're good.
Okay, is everybody ready to move to agenda item number 5C?
Yes.
Commission report, discussion and approval. We have a very comprehensive, I think, great analysis of our process and our maps. Is there any discussion? I'll entertain a motion to approve the commission report, and then we can hold our discussion after we do through the motion, if that works for all of you. So I'll need a motion or entertain a motion to approve the commission report that you've all had time to review.
Commissioner Meal, I move that we approve the reports for both the congressional and legislative maps.
Do I have a second?
Commissioner York seconds.
Okay, with that, I'll open it up to discussion. Does anybody have any discussion?
I do, Madam Chair. It's a great report, lengthy report. Not as inclusive as I was thinking, but it does hit the points and does speak to the responsibilities that we as a commission is responsible to do. And so, I guess for me, a few additional thoughts would be appropriate for me. But notwithstanding the timing and the work that went into it, it's a good report. As I said, I thought that was thorough enough to meet the requirements of the Constitution and what we as a commission have to do. So, great job for the most part. Thank you.
Any other conversation?
This is Commissioner Lerner. There were a few minor things that I saw that I didn't completely agree with, but nothing that's so striking that it shouldn't be moved forward.
Okay. And I believe everybody's had this, so we've all had opportunities to share feedback. Okay, we'll take a vote. Commissioner Meal, if I can find, there you are. Commissioner Meal. Oh, I'm starting wrong. Vice Chair, see, I'm out of order today. Vice Chair Watchman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I vote aye.
Commissioner Meal,
Aye.
Commissioner Lerner,
Aye.
Commissioner York.
Aye.
Chairperson Newberg is an aye, and with that, the commission report is approved 5-0. We move to agenda item number 5D, which is to authorize the chair to transmit the maps and report to the Arizona Secretary of State. I'll entertain a motion to move and authorize myself to transmit the maps and report to the Arizona Secretary of State.
This is Commissioner Lerner, so move.
Do I have a second?
Vice Chair Watchman seconds.
Just for the record, Vice Chair Watchman, can you say it again?
I'm sorry, Vice Chair Watchman seconds that motion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Vice Chair Watchman,
Aye.
Commissioner Meal,
Aye.
Commissioner Lerner,
Aye.
Commissioner York.
Aye.
Chairperson Newberg is an aye, and with that, we are authorized and will submit the report and the maps to the Arizona Secretary of State. And, you know, I just want to conclude that section by saying that it is my sincere hope that these maps will encourage the best and the brightest in our state to run for these new districts and really serve Arizonans as I believe they deserve. So we will move to agenda item number 6, discussion of future agenda item requests. Given all the uncertainty, I'm not sure anybody would have anything to add at that point. So we'll move to agenda item number 7, announcements. I do not have any announcements. I don't know if staff or legal, anybody has anything they'd like to share. Okay, agenda item number 8, next meeting date to be determined. It's unclear what the needs will be from a budgetary perspective, litigation perspective. Just to give you a general sense of reference, I believe the previous commission met every few months or so in that first year, but again, to be determined, and I'm sure staff will be staying in touch. We'll move to agenda item number 9, closing of public comments. Please note, members of the commission may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to ARS 38-431.01H, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to any criticism, or scheduling the matter for further consideration and decision at a later date. With that, we move to adjournment. I will open it up, to a motion to adjourn.
Vice Chair, motions to adjourn.
Commissioner York
Do I-
seconds.
With no further discussion, Vice Chair Watchman,
Aye.
Commissioner Meal,
Aye.
Commissioner Lerner,
Aye.
Commissioner York,
Aye. Thank you, Commissioner Newberg.
and Chairperson Newberg is an aye. And with that, with my greatest of gratitude and appreciation for all of my colleagues, all of the staff and consultants who I believe, you know, read the report, read the transcripts. We've done a remarkable job. And from the bottom of my heart, I thank you. So bye-bye, and till next time.